In this video, you're going to get to see me perform 3 of my all-time favorite mentalism effects, and I'm going to fully break them down step by step so you get all the key tips and secrets going on behind the scenes and how you can take these effects to the next level. Make sure you stick around to the end of this video because I'll be breaking down my favorite propless PK touch effect. What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to Give Me a Breakdown episode 22, where I'll be breaking down part 2 of the No One Touched Her But She Felt Something close-up performance from Toronto, Canada. Now this video was filmed something like 3 or 4 years ago from a private close-up gig, and that's one of the things that I think is so interesting about this breakdown is it's probably an environment that a lot more of you who are just performing for friends and family will be performing in, so you'll get a lot of different tips and that sort of thing. These effects are all mentalism related. You'll see 2 pseudo-hypnosis effects, which were kind of performed as afterthought effects. They're more experimental, stuff that isn't in my working repertoire, but it was kind of afterwards we were hanging out and they wanted to see a little bit more. And then you'll see my favorite PK touch effect, one that I know a lot of you guys have asked about, and I'll break that down at the end of this video. And that is actually what I closed my professional set with for this particular gig. Now, if you have not seen part 1 of this breakdown, I'll link that right up here. That is where I'm breaking down the first half of this performance video, and it is absolutely jam-packed, so you don't want to miss that. I'll also link up above the full original uncut performance video from this gig if you want to check that out. Now, I have some very exciting news. If you guys have not heard, I have just recently launched a new tier of my membership, the Wizard tier. On there, I've already posted one incredible lecture, the Propless Billet Work lecture, all about how to get the most out of your billet work. This is taken directly from my live mental minimalism lecture. And even more exciting, I have posted the full hour and 45-minute Propless Mentalism masterclass. This is an insane masterclass. There are over a dozen propless techniques, something like 6 different propless effects, from an animal guess, a name guess, a car brand guess, a drawing duplication, and more, all propless. And I teach you my full system on how you can create your own propless mentalism. This is one of the best projects I've ever put out, and all the Wizard members who have checked it out so far are absolutely loving it. If you'd like more info on the Propless Mentalism masterclass, here's a link to the trailer, and there is a performance in that video. So if you'd like to get full access to all channel videos, including my Practical Mental Magic course with over 30 mentalism effects taught up to this point, access to all masterclasses and lectures, and the ability to request custom videos where I'll make a personalized video just for you on whatever topic, card magic, mentalism, or theory related, go sign up for the Wizard tier. I'll link it up here and down at the link in the description. And the last little bit of exciting news, if you guys have not heard, I am performing at the Magicians Alliance of Western New York convention at the end of the month. If you'd like to see me perform live, you can go check out more info and get some tickets at moni.org. I hope to see you guys there. It's going to be a great performance. Can't wait to meet some of you. Make sure if you see me, you say hi. If you guys would like to sign up for a private lesson, links are down in the description. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff so I can keep bringing you this incredible content. So with all that said, guys, let's not waste too much more time and let's jump right into the video. Okay, so this is an awesome effect of mine called What Circle. It is based off a old Banachek effect from Psychological Subtleties. Banachek's effect basically used a billet and some classic sort of billet principles. This utilizes a really sneaky method. It uses your phone, it's completely modern, and so you'll see what the effect is in a minute, but essentially you show him some shapes and you're going to do a pseudo-hypnosis effect and have him forget about one of the shapes, and then he'll go and draw the shapes he remembers and one will be missing. The reason I love this effect so much is that final moment. Again, I like to think of my effects from like the visual. What visual are they left with? And they're left with a beautiful visual of him drawing on a piece of paper. And so if you think about it, they're left with a beautiful moment where you say, here, draw the shapes you remember. And he's going to start drawing the shapes one by one. And you don't know until the very end if he's going to remember all the shapes, because it's not until he sets the pen down and there's only 3 shapes. Even when he's drawn that 3rd shape, you still don't know if he's about to draw that 4th shape. Is he going to draw it or is he going to set the pen down? And he always sets the pen down and misses that 4th shape. And so there's always that really nice kind of climax and that beautiful cinematic moment. That's why I love this effect. So I wanted a way to do this without billets, a little bit more modern, modernize the method. And there was some issues with that. So I'll talk about that throughout this routine. And I'm gonna draw some shapes. So in this case, I actually drew 5 shapes. In Banachek's original, I think he only used 4 shapes. That's why I was saying 4 before. But in this case, I drew the 5 ESP symbols, and I'm gonna have him forget one of the shapes. So just study those shapes. Just try to remember them, but it's not as important that we remember them. Camera. Now you pride yourself on having a good memory, correct? All right, you can take... So I picked someone particularly for this effect, and I think it's important. This effect I think is good for someone who is a little bit skeptical, and which he was, especially at first, and it's great for someone who really is certain they have a good memory, because you'll get into this moment later on where you can use some clever scripting and say, you know, if this worked, he'll swear that he never saw the shape because it'll be completely removed from his memory. So now, no matter how much he tries to say, there's no way that shape was there, you didn't show me that shape, whatever, it's a double blind. He can't get out of it, right? And so it's really good when you can take someone. It also adds the credibility. If you take someone who says, I have a good memory, there's no way I'll forget this, then it makes the effect that much more impressive and makes it feel more real. Whereas if you have someone who's like, I don't have a good memory, I'm not very confident, well then maybe they just forgot the shape, right? Quick pause in your regularly scheduled program. I just want to let you guys know that I offer one-on-one virtual private magic lessons, perfect for beginner to advanced magicians and mentalists looking to improve their technique, sleight of hand, learn any of my best effects, learn the fundamentals of card magic, mentalism, or absolutely anything. This is the best value in magic in terms of getting you to become a better magician. I can sit with you one-on-one, tell you exactly what you personally need to work on, and teach you a bunch of the incredible material that I perform in my professional repertoire. If you decide to take a lesson with me, you will get 24/7 personal contact, you'll get custom curriculums, personally tailored effects. Every lesson you will get a downloadable recording, giving you something you can keep with you forever and always return to learn at your own pace. Over on my website, I have a bunch of reviews and testimonials, both video and written form, that you guys can check out. And if you'd like some more info or to book a lesson, all you have to do is head over to the link in the description, or feel free to send me an email at rf.sleights@gmail.com. Now, back to the video. Your mask off, because I want to show you there's no funny business. There actually are shapes there, okay? Now in a second, I'm gonna try to have him memorize some of these. Okay, we're gonna see how good you do, all right? So I'm gonna give those to you. You see them? Hold those in your hand. There's a tiny little cut there just because I think the camera caught one little aspect of the method that I didn't want to see. And commit those to your memory, because in a second, I'm gonna try to get you to forget, okay? You have those? You have them locked in. If I take a screenshot right now, you'll remember this. Just to prove, this is what you're seeing. There's nothing, watch, I screenshot. You see it screenshot? All right. So this is kind of the beauty of this whole routine, and this is really what I wanted to chat about. So the problem when you translate this effect from billet to virtual is that with a billet you have the inherent reality that the billet can't be manipulated. So if you draw on the billet, whatever shapes you show him, it's inherently true that they can't change, right? Because they're written in the physical world. When you do this effect on a phone, there's an obvious method of, well, maybe, you know, it's some kind of app or some kind of manipulation where he's just showing us 5 shapes and showing him 4 shapes, right? And it's not, you know, out of the realm of reality where the spectators could put that link together. So you need a convincer. You need a 100% convincer. And I was thinking about what that could be, and I came up with a screenshot. I said, well, if I screenshot what they're seeing and right in front of his face, and you saw the beautiful moment in this routine, maybe I'll rewind it so you can see, but when I screenshot it, you even see his face light up, and he confirms, yes, I saw you screenshot it. And I really emphasize this moment saying, you know, you can see these are the shapes, and what you see me screenshot, right? This is what you're currently seeing. There's no way we can go back on this, no way we can change it. So now that he confirms we have the screenshot, later we can go check the screenshot and see what shapes were in the screenshot to confirm that I showed him the same shapes that I showed the people at the beginning. And that actually now kind of strengthens the effect, because with a billet, there's always the possibility of a switch. And I think the screenshot, even though, yes, we know there are apps and things that could do this, but to a layman, the screenshot has the timestamp. It's locked in. There's no easy way to manipulate it in the actual camera roll of a phone. I think they both have their pros and their cons, but I like this, and I like the credibility of the screenshot. You can send it to them as a souvenir. I love that little moment. So I want to show you the moment where it kind of flashes and you can see it on his face. Just pay attention to his face and the scripting I use here.
What you're seeing, there's nothing, watch, I screenshot. You see it screenshot? All right. Do you believe that I could make you forget? Nope. You don't think there's any way? All right. Wait a second. We're going to get there. Shapes, right?
I also have a little subtlety, and again, there was a small cut just because the camera kind of caught something. It's not, the cameraman's not at a good angle for this trick. But basically, I show them the shapes, I show there's something that happens, I show him the shapes, and then I show them the shapes again. It's all like adding to that. I've shown everyone the same shapes by me kind of going back and forth. I think if you show one, well then it's, you know, again, it kind of, there's a possibility of a switch. But if you show these people, show him, and then show these people again, that you actually did show them the same thing, it just further solidifies some of those things that I think are important.
I'm gonna try this. I don't know if it works. You're giving me, you're very mentally strong, right?
And one thing that's, like I mentioned, it's so good about picking someone who thinks they're really mentally strong and have a great memory is a question I asked him a second ago. So you pride yourself on having a good memory. You're convinced there's no way I could make you forget, right? And him saying, yep, no question, right? That's just so beautiful, and it's gonna really strengthen the effect.
Okay, on the count of 3, I just want you to close your eyes, okay? 1, 2, 3.
And now I'm gonna give this beautiful monologue. This is often the monologue that I use when I'm doing pseudo-hypnosis effects. I use this for my playing card insurance routine. I used that for this routine and a couple other pseudo-hypnosis routines I do. I would just really love the visual. You can kind of build in all these little nuggets. The scripting is thought out so well that depending what you're trying to accomplish, you can take it in a certain way. It's kind of all naturally built in, and you can add in little moments of subtlety. I think the key thing when you're doing pseudo-hypnosis is to give them things that they could latch onto as the method, just to get them to question, like, is this real? Is this actually happening? So I'll drop little seeds of, like, if I'm trying to have them think of the suit heart, for example, I'll drop something in there that's red, and I'll try to allude to their, like, some kind of shape of a heart, and maybe I'll even do that with my hands. And, you know, if I'm trying to force a number, I like to say, like, the number of birds that they see flying by. If I'm trying to force 4, I'll say, so you're walking down and you look up, you see 4 birds flying through the sky. And then sometimes I'll actually point that out once the effect is done. I'll say, think about what I said. I said 4 birds. I said red. So then you can kind of do that. Sometimes I'll just leave it and say, you know, a lot of my words that I said were to try to influence her. You can maybe try to make some of the connections yourself. But I think that's super important. It adds credibility and allows them to kind of piece together the puzzle in a really neat way.
I want you to imagine you're on a beach, wherever you want, okay? You're walking down the beach, you feel the sand on your feet, you feel the waves crashing, you hear the waves. Off to your right, you see a big cliff. Off to your left, you see the water. There's a strip of sand that runs down all the way along the beach with the cliff and the water on each side. You follow that like a trail. You're walking down, you're walking, and in the horizon, you see a hole. You see a black hole in the ground, and you keep approaching it. You get closer and closer, and as you get to that hole, you go right up.
So I always use this like black hole premise when I'm doing memory loss, because I think the idea of having a black hole that they walk up to, they get closer and closer. It's like they're approaching forgetting that thought, and I think it ties in really beautifully, and they're kind of going to stare down into the hole, and that memory is going to disappear. So watch how I kind of handle that.
Edge, okay? And at the edge of the hole, you look down, and all you see is nothing. You see a black circle of nothing, okay? Imagine that void of nothingness, okay? And I don't want you to forget to remember, but don't remember what you haven't forgotten yet, because then you'll remember what to forget, okay? Now on 3, I want you to come back.
I forget where I saw that line. Maybe it was Pete, and it's something like that. It's just like a really confusing, like, don't forget to remember what you won't forget. And I thought it's funny. I still like it. I think, you know, sometimes it gets a laugh. Just a little thing to throw in at the end of these kind of memory loss routines.
Open your eyes, 1, 2, 3. Now, after this, if this worked properly, he will swear that he does not remember seeing the shapes. He will swear it was not there, but if it worked, I've truly replaced your thought with emptiness. Take the pen.
So this is that beautiful moment you get. You also see that line I said of, you know, no matter what, if this worked, he's gonna be 100% convinced that he never saw that, you know, that image now. So I'm covered, right? I'm completely covered and completely cleaned up. And now he's gonna go to draw, and you get this beautiful moment.
Draw the shapes that you can remember.
Identical?
As best you can. No, just so we get the idea.
Wave.
Is there something missing? There was another shape, right? I think there's a circle. The one Matt said.
Was there?
Now watch. Remember, he took a.
So this moment usually kind of gets reactions like this, like confusion, because I think people are so kind of shocked at what they see. Like I've done this at routine lots, and this moment, it sometimes does get people kind of going, oh my God, no way. But it usually gets a more tame kind of like confused reaction, because the person who experienced it doesn't really know how to react. They're like, okay, this can't be real. The other people are still processing like, I mean, there was 5 shapes, and you saw the moment like he starts to put the cat back on the pen, and everyone just like, I love that, so beautiful. But you can see now it's gonna kind of hit the routine home when we point out that screenshot.
You remember taking the screenshot, you saw it. So there's one way to prove what he saw, right? Watch, I'll be as fair as I can. Open here, you guys can see my password. Well, first of all, there's the note. There's the note. But the screenshot he took, we go to it. Look, here's my thumbnails I shot earlier today. Most recent screenshot.
Oh my His finger was there.
You had the phone in your hand. You remember? He was holding the phone.
And that's actually another response that I had before was, oh, you must have just covered it with your finger or something. And that's why now in the scripting, that's one thing I learned, like when I'm showing them the phone, there's very much an emphasis of my fingers being at the side and me pointing it out and then saying, watch, I'm gonna screenshot. This is exactly what you see, because the screenshot kills completely the possibility of my finger just blocking the screen, right? So I've learned it's kind of important to emphasize that, right? And that's one of those little things that I never would have thought about unless it happened to me a few times. People kind of were like, oh, you must have covered it or blocked it. And it's like, no, like there's a screenshot and you saw the whole screen, right? So I kind of emphasize that moment now. Now this is a Pete Turner effect called insurance. I most recently I think this has been taught on his How to Control Minds, How to Read Minds kit. I believe I saw it in one of his older books. I really like this routine. It's not something I perform much. Again, this is kind of one of those just bonus routines I threw in there. It's got some similarities to the last routine. I've actually adapted this to what I call like the playing card insurance routine. If you've seen some of my most recent street magic videos that I filmed in Toronto, I performed my playing card version of this. So playing card insurance is what I call it. It's just like a playing card adaptation of this trick, kind of a pseudo memory loss type thing where you're planting a thought in their head and all that kind of stuff. I think the other one is more of a memory loss. This one is more of like planting a thought in their head. So let's take a look.
I stole a thought from his head and I had him forget a thought, right? So I want to give you guys a little bit of insight into how I did that. So what we're going to do, we're going to try something similar, but I'm going to walk you guys through exactly what I'm doing and how I'm doing it real time so you can follow. He's not going to exactly know because I have the instructions written on here so you guys can read it. So he's not going to know what I'm doing because if I tell him, it's not going to work. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Before we start, take this, and no one can see this. You guys can't look at this. I want you to write down any 2-digit number. Then write a multiplication symbol.
Okay.
And write another 2-digit number, say. And then, I don't want to see here.
No, you're not saying no.
And then draw an addition symbol after that. And then do a 3-digit number. I want you to just get the total. So type in your equation, exactly how you have it, and then hit equals.
I realize in hindsight, this is probably one of the worst groups to perform this kind of effect on, just given the state of a lot of them and sort of the complexity and the fact that it involves math and all this stuff. Again, this was an effect that I never really performed. I just wanted to get it on video. I wanted to try it out. This is the first time I've ever performed this effect to an audience. A lot of things I would improve. You can even see in my scripting, I don't really have a script. I'm just kind of umming and ahhing on my way through it and winging it a little bit. It's pretty much all just a freestyled script. and I'm so focused on trying to remember what to do that it kind of, you know, presentation suffers a little bit. But this is definitely not the right group to do this on. Again, just experimenting, just having fun here. So right now he's written down this secret math equation with these random numbers that we don't know, and he's going to get the total in his head of what that is.
And hit equals, and remember that total. Commit it to memory. No, just commit it to memory. Just commit it to memory.
So that's the problem here. So this is a good teaching moment. He went to write it down, which, as you'll see in a minute, that would destroy the method. He has to keep it in his head. Basically what's going on is the total he received is not the actual total of what his equation is. There's some sneaky principles at play, allowing the number he's seeing to be a predetermined number, one that I know already what it's going to be. And it's not going to be the result of the equation that he wrote down. The equation's fairly big. It's like multiplication of two double-digit numbers plus a three-digit number, I think. So he's not going to be able to do that in his head, especially not in this state. But again, you can see he's going to struggle to remember that number. It's going to come back to bite me a little bit later. It didn't really hit well on the reveal because he kind of forgot a little bit. And he wants to write it down, which probably smart on his part. It's just going to ruin the method, because the method is going to be me planting a thought in his head. And if he wrote down that that's the number he was thinking of all along, well, it's not going to look like I planted anything in his head, right? You see, I just take control. I stop him. I say, no, you'll be able to get this. I need you to just remember it. I don't want you to write it down so anyone sees it. Nothing like that. Just add a little justification and people will listen.
Commit it to memory. Okay, lock it. You got it?
Also, the other guy tried to peek at it, I'm sure, to help him out, and that also kind of is going to ruin it, because then he'll know that it was the total that he saw on the phone rather than the total that I'm allegedly going to plant in his head. So I really tried to quickly push him back and, say, no, don't look, all this stuff, trying to save it. But this is a good example of a routine. Again, when you don't practice routines, you run into these situations. What should I have done here? I should have moved this guy alone away from everyone else. I should have put everyone on the left and him alone on the right. I shouldn't have done it for this type of group in this type of environment. There's a lot of things to be desired in this performance, right? This is great to learn. This is why I'm so grateful I have these kind of performances on video to go back and watch and break down and, help out myself, but also help out you guys with, so what you should do, how you should think about this, right? This shows the importance of proper practice, planning, working through all these things so that when you go to do it, I went into this effect thinking oh, I know how this works, no problem, I'll be able to figure it out and get through it. And I did get through it. It does work. I can freestyle my way through an effect, but it leaves a lot to be desired because of the lack of practice and rehearsal, right?
Now, here's what we're going to try. I'm going to try to steal a thought from your mind, okay? You know what? Sometimes with these hypnotic things, they work on other people, these hypnotic type things. It's not hypnosis, but it's suggestion, especially when we've done it before. So this same thing might actually affect you in some way, but it's mainly going to be on him. So actually, I don't want to quite show you.
So this, I will give myself some credit. That was really, really smart, genius thinking on the fly. So let me explain what happened here if you didn't catch it. So if we go back, you saw the guy with the ball cap. He kind of peeked over his shoulder to see what the number is. So the effect is going to be, he supposedly came up with a random, math equation, found the result for that. Let's say in reality, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. With some clever principles, when he typed it in on the calculator and hit equals, it's going to show him 4, 3, 2, 1, let's say. So he now has 4, 3, 2, 1 in his head. On that piece of paper, and this is one of the things I love about this effect, this piece of paper, it has the number that I'm going to supposedly implant in his head, which is 4, 3, 2, 1, which, as we know, is already in his head. So now I'm going to show everyone else, say this is the number I'm going to try to force in his head. There's also some clever little ideas from Pete on, for each number, you kind of show how you're going to do it with the scripting, and then you deliver that line of script, and the audience can say, oh, when he said this word, that's how he forced the number 2, the number 4, whatever. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. Then at the end, I'm going to say, well, what's the number in your head? He's going to say 4, 3, 2, 1, which is the number that I planted in his head. And now he's going to say, well, that was the number I saw, right? And again, I use the whole line of, you're going to be convinced that the number you saw is the number I plant in your head if this worked properly. But we have an insurance policy because he wrote down the equation. So now everyone can take out their calculator, type in the equation he wrote down, and we'll all see that it actually equals 1, 2, 3, 4. So in fact, he didn't have 4, 3, 2, 1 in his head, and that's the number I planted, right? So that's why it's called insurance. You have that insurance policy, ties up the effect really nice. It's just really, really strong when done right. Problem is, guy with the ball cap looked over his shoulder, and I'm pretty sure he saw the 4321 number on the calculator. So you can imagine now, if I show that paper with 4321 that I'm holding to him, he'll be thinking, well, I just saw that on the calculator, and he'll kind of be able to figure out the method. And especially later on, he'll say, well, no, that's the number you wrote down. It was on the calculator from the start, right? And it's even worse if he says it now, because I can't try to blame him for, you know, having underwent the trance as well. So I actually do something really clever, and I kind of catch that here, and I tie it back into the last routine, and I say, sometimes these hypnotic things, they actually affect more than one person, more than just the target. And it might bleed over to you, and especially because we've just done something similar with you, you're probably more open to it. And so I say, so instead, I'm not going to show you this piece of paper either. So now it's like I'm going to actually hypnotize both of them. If he happened to see it, well, then I'm covered now, because I never showed him the paper with the 4321, so he can feel like I've planted that thought in his head as well. If he didn't see it, then there's no harm, right? He's just going to kind of experience the effect. He's just not going to have seen the number that I'm going to be planting in the guy's head before I say it out loud. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, and once you see the rest of this, it'll make sense. But that's actually really clever, and it's a really great way that I realized on the fly, oh, he might have seen this. And I just kind of thought, well, what should I do? Oh, well, let me just treat him as a secondary spectator. And I came up with that little really actually nice line of scripting. Well, you know, you were open to suggestion on the last one, so some of this might kind of trickle over to you a little bit. So I'm actually not going to show this to you just in case, right? And now I'm fully covered. It's important to think on the fly like this sometimes, guys, when you get into these situations, and always try to find a way out rather than just kind of eating it. And just, I could have just said, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to assume he didn't see it, move into the next part of the routine, and maybe have gotten screwed, right?
Exactly I'm going to do, because I have a feeling this might work on you too based on how well the last one got. So I'm going to try to steal the thought out of his head and replace it with this. This is what I'm going to replace it with. And this is how I'm going to do it. These are the choice words, let's say, that I'm going to use to replace this into his head, okay?
So they all see that I'm going to try to put the number in his head. And then I wrote some words underneath it, like the word 2 is going to force the number 2. 4, the number 4.
Don't look, because it's not going to work. You guys see?
Yeah. Pretty good. Good.
You guys see? So watch. All right. I want you to keep your number in your mind. Try to remember it, okay? But close your eyes. This time, imagine you're falling from a cliff. At the bottom of the cliff, there's some water. And there's a boat, and the boat comes in, it separates the water and creates a black hole. Now I want you to forget any sort of suggestion that you might be witnessing. I want you to have a free choice at whatever's in your mind, okay? But just keep that, open your eyes for me, keep that in your head, okay? Now,
So again, maybe this wasn't the best, you know, sort of pseudo-hypnosis script. This one was completely just freestyled. I like the idea of the cliff and the boat parting the water. I think that's nice. This last line here is one of the things I got from Pete, but again, I had no practice, so I'm just freestyling it. I didn't deliver it all that well, but the idea is like you're using these keywords like 2 and forget for the number 4 and all these things. And so you can kind of call back to that, which again, I said I think that's a nice thing to do, so I wanted to test out this line for myself. Probably didn't do it justice, but at least what I'm doing is giving them something to latch onto as the method. They can think back and say, well, when he was saying all that stuff, that must be the thing that had him plant the thought in his head, right? So it's going to kind of help cover the method and help add some credibility and reality to the effect.
I have now replaced the number you have in mind with a new thought, one that I've already showed them. For the first time, what's the number that's in your head?
2435.
2435.
That's my original number.
That's the number.
So you can see he's fully convinced. He's like, yeah, that's the original number.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the number, right? That's the original one you saw. What? 2435.
Yeah.
Right, 2435. And I know what you guys are thinking. This isn't really impressive. He just saw 2435, even though I predicted this before he wrote any of this down. But what proves that I've replaced this thought in his head is if we go to the calculator and he types in the equation, right? He typed it in and he says he got 2435. What is your equation? Type it out for us.
It is 2435. Yeah, it is.
It is?
Yeah, it is.
I love that. He's like, yeah, it is. I mean, it is 2435. That's what I love, because he's about to get, you know, proved wrong.
What is it?
It's 28.
Everyone, take out your calculator if you don't believe it.
28.
28
by 11.
by 11
Plus.
plus
111.
111.
That's it. What?
I replaced that thought in your head, and here's exactly how I did it. I used the words to, forget, free, and I held up the fingers. You remember?
No, me jodas, huh? This is the good okay?
So I really liked that effect. By no means a great performance of it, but I think it was fun and it still played well in the end and got some pretty decent reactions. Now this is one of my favorite effects of all time. This is Midas Touch by Peter Turner, a beautiful PK touch routine, fully propless. This actually got my #1 propless effect in my top 5 propless effect video, and I'll link that up there. This is one of those effects that's really hard to do. It's hard to practice. It's not hard in the sense of like, it's just memorize a script, really. But to do it properly, and I know Pete says it's really easy, but I don't agree with that statement. I mean, yes, like if you're Peter Turner, I'm sure it's easy. I can do it pretty well at this point because I practiced it, but it's not, it's hard to explain. It's easy in methodology. Like theoretically, you could learn it in a day and go try it, but is it gonna work? I don't think so. Because there's a certain way you have to deliver it almost to make it work. Like it's like the delivery. It's a tough one, I think, to do well. But this is maybe my best performance of it that I have on video. This is one of my favorite reactions of all time. These guys are so freaked out. Like they're like, call the police at one point, you know, like it's such a great performance. So let's just check it out. I don't think there's gonna be too much to say on it, but let's take a look. Imagine a ball of light in my hand. Focus your eyes on it, okay? And imagine that it's following my hand. Now don't move your head, just move your eyes and follow it. And it comes up, 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 and it stays right there in place floating. And by the way, this is what I believe I closed the whole set with. So the whole main set that I did to them, this was the closer. Then I did a few of those other ones that you saw earlier as some extra pieces for the people who wanted a little bit more. Eyes start to get heavy, get tired, just let them close. All right, and on 3, 1, 2, 3, close your eyes. All right. Now, you can tell by the sound of my voice I'm nowhere near you, correct? Mm-hmm. And I'm not touching you now. Mm-hmm. But you did just feel me touch you, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna just keep your eyes closed. You're doing great. Now, there's not a whole lot to say on this because I pretty much do it exactly how Pete recommends you do it, and I think it's just so well thought out that that's pretty much the best way to do it. I like the whole ball of light thing at the beginning as sort of, again, the pseudo-hypnosis type thing. I think all of these last couple effects have been kind of pseudo-hypnosis. You can see it's already getting a great reaction on the first touch, which is really nice. And then when you go for that next touch where you do the tap, and she's gonna say how many times she got touched, if you know the method, there's a couple of really nice subtleties here. Felt me touch you, and if you're stuck between a few numbers, you can say, you know, a couple of numbers, but how many times did you feel me touch you?
Twice.
All right, open your eyes for a second. Just take a deep breath. This is my favorite moment because you don't have to go back to retouch her now. You can have her open her eyes. Seemingly to the audience, it feels like, okay, the effect's done. And then I'm like, okay, let's do one last thing. And we go back into it and I never go near her. She's gonna like close her eyes again. You just get that killer last phase. Just completely blows the roof off. If you wanna learn this, I think it was taught in How to Control Minds or in his new PK Touches book. Those are the two places I think is the best spot to learn it now. Do you mind if I ask you a few more questions about your feelings? All right, just close your eyes for me. That last touch you felt, was it firmer than the rest of them or softer?
It was fine.
And that last firm touch, can you point to where you felt it? Now open your eyes.
What the That is
That's amazing what you can make people feel in their mind. That's not actually there. Thank you guys.
He touched my spot. Then you felt it. I asked you, where did you touch?
Obviously you felt it before, and then the arm, right? And then.
Oh, you never. No.
So that was one of my favorites, one of the best reactions I think I've ever had. Like, I just love the way the guy's like, God, call the police. I think it's so funny. Such a good reaction. Again, there's not a whole lot to say on that routine just because it's just so perfect as it is. If I had to give you a couple of tips on it, I would just say focus on mastering the scripting. Make sure you use all of Pete's tips, the body blocking, the different things. Go into the script very carefully. The most important moments of this is the first phase, when you do the first touch and you say, did you just feel me touch you? That is the moment where if it's not going to work, you're going to get a no in that moment. So that is the most important moment to get that yes. So if you really work on that first phase, it'll kind of set the premise for the rest of the routine, and everything else will fall into place and you won't have any issues. If that doesn't work, you can also save the effect by going and attempting a retouch and trying to get back into it. I've had to do that before and successfully saved it. And then if I go back and I ask again and they say no once again, there's a few reasons why that can happen. Sometimes you're phrasing it not properly, so they feel like you're talking about in the current moment rather than in the past. So you really got to be careful with that scripting. And if they say no a second time, I would just kind of abandon the effect. I always frame this effect as, again, an experiment to see how in sync we are. So if it doesn't work, I have a way out. All right, guys, I hope you liked that video. This was jam-packed, some incredible tips on the mentalism. I really love how I can show my thinking as I'm working my way through some of these more unknown situations. What went through my head, how I thought about saving it, and you can see the performance and actually how it went. So if you guys would like a private lesson or to join my mentalism membership, links are down in the description. With all that said, guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.